Yep, we're live.
Hello.
We is live, everyone.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you here for supporting Timmy's legacy. And I just want to talk about Timmy's legacy first. The whole point of having the legacy was for missing and unjust for people that need help to get their paperwork or help them be found, because when I went through it with Timmy, I could not get anybody to help me look for him. So we started the legacy because Timmy wanted a legacy. And I thought, what a best way to honor who Timmy was starting a legacy to help others. And it helps me live through the nightmare. So that's what the legacy is about, is just to help everybody that are missing and
And to
support.
help with the sunshine requests.
Yeah, to get all their paperwork and how to file for it and what to
Well,
do.
and eventually, once the foundation's well established, one of the things that I would like to see us do is help with people that say can't afford a private investigator because law enforcement's not looking for their loved one, and maybe we can assist them in trying to get someone to actually take the case seriously. Also, like you said, paying for all that damn paperwork or a second
Hmm.
autopsy like you had to do for Timmy. I mean, that's all things that the foundation can help out with once we get well established.
Right.
And one of my goals with the foundation as well is to use it to do what we've been trying to do with that Arctic's been trying to do for several years, try to standardize the Amber Alert system. I think that having a public platform and being able to bring out these inconsistencies in the Amber Alert system and showing people, hey, we all need something standard. Everybody gets an Amber Alert until it's decided they don't need one, you
Right.
know. And I think having this platform will be able to help push, streamline that process and get the Amber Alerts to where they need to be.
And a platform for people to get some support, to know that they're not alone, because, well, Arctic, as you know, you were the first person I met through this nightmare. And if it wasn't for you, I don't know how I would have gotten through just getting that Timmy was even missing. Because I talked to you, what, daily, and I told you I can't get anybody to come out of the police station and look for him.
Absolutely. And the fact that I called you was an abnormally anyway, because normally I had a rule that I didn't reach out to families directly because they're already going through so much as it is. And so but I saw how you were not having anyone listen to you, and I was like, I've got to help her if I can. So, and then I started working with more families, and I do that behind the scenes and stuff. And obviously, if there's a case out there like Timmy's where the case just isn't getting any attention at all, or police are dropping the ball every step of the way, I will always bring those families on to tell their story and raise hell until the person's either found or until at least police start taking the case damn seriously.
Or
Right.
just sit down and talk to you. I mean, I couldn't get, you know that. I couldn't even, I called you from the courthouse
Yeah.
and said, I can't even get a, they drive by and see me sitting there, but nothing. So,
Or they flip you off.
yeah, I got flipped off when I showed up there by some uh, deputy. I don't know, I know it was a woman, but I couldn't tell you who it was because I was in fight mode, just getting the flyers out to show people that he was missing. And they knew he was missing from there. And they kept telling me to go back to where I live. And I'm like, but he's missing here. I didn't get that. But we're here to talk about Timmy as a teenager.
One moment. Can I interject for just a minute?
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know, Tim, if you're watching, we don't need your opinion. We don't need your side of the story. So we've been out here for 3 years working on Timmy's case. Timmy's case has been solved. So as far as you're concerned, you aren't important. So don't pop up in a comment section again asking to come in and tell your side of the story, because nobody cares. Okay? You go cry on somebody else's shoulder. We're done here. Okay, thank you.
So I don't even know where to begin. To me, we lived out in the country. We had moved out there for a while, and then I decided, well, it was financially, I wasn't doing well out there because we had to have, one of them big tanks full of gas, and that was costing me a fortune. So I moved in town. And then Timmy had gotten friends that lived in the neighborhood, and Timmy was coming up to St. Louis every other weekend. And pot got involved. To be honest with you, marijuana got involved because Timmy's dad had it, and Timmy was bringing home pot from his father's. So I just threw a fit over that. I went to the prosecutor. I called Tim and told him if that kept happening that I was going to turn him in, but that didn't do me much good. So then Timmy got a little older, and he got his driver's license when he turned 16. And Tim wanted to buy Timmy a car, and Timmy had ADD. He didn't have the hyperness. He just had ADD. And doing homework with Timmy was a complete nightmare when he was younger because he couldn't stay focused long enough. So there wasn't no like cooking dinner while the kids sat at the table doing their homework like usual, like Michael did. Timmy, I had to sit down with him, and I had to be right in front of him to get homework done. It was a nightmare. So
I can relate to that, having ADD myself.
yeah,
Right.
so he struggled hard staying focused on stuff. So I told Timmy's father, I said, I don't think Timmy's mature enough to have a car yet. But whatever I said didn't matter. So he bought Timmy this Monte Carlo. Nice car, but he had no business having a sports car of a Monte Carlo. Timmy had that car for 6 hours and totaled it.
Wow.
Yes.
I thought I was bad. My parents bought me a 63 Chevy pickup with a high performance racing engine in it and everything. And I had that truck for 6 months before I totaled it out.
Well, Timmy got you licked.
Yeah, Timmy beat you. 6 hours. So Timmy's dad bought the car back. He got a, what do you call them titles?
A salvage title.
Salvage title, yeah. And he fixed the car, gave the car back to Timmy. Then Timmy was running around with Caleb and a few other friends, and they were doing things, running around town in that car and hanging out of the car and everything. So I'm chasing them down in my car, trying to get them, because I thought somebody was going to get hurt.
Well, yeah.
So I called Timmy's dad, and I'm trying to tell Timmy's dad, we need to take the car away from Timmy. Timmy doesn't need a car right now. And that did not work out so well. Because that's what was some of the problem was getting back up when you wanted to. I mean, I had two teenage boys. I'm not a very big person. And honestly, Tim always told the kids I was crazy, so they didn't have to listen to me. So there was things that was going on in our household that I had no control over to get any help. So Timmy just... It was bad. We had police at our house. I talked to the police. They didn't, it was all about. It just seemed strange to me that Timmy would come home on the weekends from his dad's house, and then Caleb and all these friends would show up on the carport. And I thought, what's going on here? Come find out, Timmy was getting weed, and he was giving it to his friends or selling it to his friends. I really don't know. I just know that in his suitcase, I found weed. And I just feel like that Timmy's dad.
Well, I will say there's a lot worse things than weed. Now, a father making his son sell weed or giving it to him.
Drug mule.
Yeah, exactly. And we see a lot of what you went through in so many cases where divorce is at play. It sounds like Tim was basically trying to buy the kids' affection by, giving Timmy a nice car and everything. And then, of course, you were the bad guy because you had to be the person that says, hey, look, you're not being responsible with that. So we're going to have to take it from you.
But I
Mhm.
couldn't take it from him because then Timmy's dad would take he'd take
Drag
me
you to
back,
court.
and I would get in trouble for contempt of court. Because I mean, honestly, I didn't have money. Timmy's dad has money. Timmy's family has money. I had nothing. So I went back to court. And when I went back to court, I told him, I said, well, I'm not going to let Timmy take that car. I'm not going to let somebody pick Timmy up that doesn't have a driver's license, that is not, well, was on drugs, honestly. And when I went back to court, the courts told me that I had to give, because Timmy's dad never had a driver's license the whole time I was with him. He never had a driver's license, and he was driving Timmy with no driver's license. So when I went back to court and told them that, they gave me a letter, which was, it stunned me. They gave me a letter and told me that Tim could just have anybody knock on my door to pick Timmy up. And I said, so even if I don't know him, it doesn't matter. And they said, yeah, no, it doesn't. And I have the documents that the courts gave me. So I took it to another lawyer, and the lawyer said he had never seen anything like that in his whole career. But he wanted $1,500 to help me, and I did not have $1,500. So I could not do anything about that. So anybody that knocked on my door that had a driver's license, I had to let Timmy go with them.
That's really surprising. In
That's
my divorce,
insanity. That's like asking to have your child snatched by just letting anyone pick them up like that.
Oh, it was
exactly.
funny. I
In
mean,
my divorce agreement, it's that my ex-husband could pick up the kids, or my parents or his parents could pick up or drop off the kids. That was it. His ex-wife has never had permission to pick up my kids, and they still won't get in the car alone with her. And they're 18 and 20.
well, and then Timmy wanted to please his dad. He and then my oldest son Michael, he wanted to be like his dad because he thought that was so cool, but it wasn't cool. It just wasn't. And so I was pretty depressed, and then I drank, which didn't help. So when the kids came up to St. Louis, I got drunk, was depressed. I do feel guilt for that. I feel guilty that I let my kids see me down and out and depressed. I feel like I caused some of the damage to my kids by being in that state of mind. And I got so down and out that I finally thought, it probably sounds crazy, but I thought, well, what else do I have to lose? I'll get in church. That'll help. A girlfriend of mine told me, why don't you go to church? So I got in church, I got saved, and then everything changed. I wasn't depressed anymore. Everything was going well, but the kids were still coming up to St. Louis with Tim. And then Timmy's dad had the money, so Timmy's dad talked Timmy into moving up to St. Louis just 6 months before he graduated high school. And Timmy and he came to tell me he was moving in with his dad because his dad was letting him run around, giving him gas money, and doing whatever he wanted, things that I didn't agree with. So after that all happened, Timmy did move up to St. Louis, and I'm just going to be brutally honest. I watched Timmy pack his car up with all of his belongings, and I decided to kill myself. And I took a bunch of pills, and I was just going to go lay in bed and hope I died. Well, for some reason, I think it's a God thing, Timmy came back for a lighter. And the medications kicked in at that point, and Timmy seen me that way, and he called the police and an ambulance, and I ended up in the hospital I was out of it for 3 days because I took a whole bottle of Ambien and I took a whole bottle of Xanax. I planned it. I knew I was going to try to kill myself when Timmy left. So I went in the hospital. I wake up a few days later, and there's this lady that was in the room with me, and she's reading a book. And the ladies from church showed up to see me, and I thought, oh my God, people do care about me. So I just stayed in church and got better. And then Timmy graduated. So I came up here to St. Louis for Timmy's graduation. And when I did that, my son Michael had jumped out of a window and tried to kill himself. And so my son Michael was in Barnes Hospital on the stress unit after trying to kill himself. So I had to pick him up from the hospital, and then he got dressed in the car for me to get to Timmy's graduation. I just don't want anybody else to do the things that I let my kids see. The depression, all of that from being torn down. Even later, I let the abuse go on even when after I left him, because I felt like I was taunted. I couldn't do anything right. Everything was just putting me down, telling the kids I'm crazy all the time.
Well, and Barb, I know that you're taking a lot of this on yourself, but I just need to point out that is narcissist behavior. Continuously telling you that it's your fault, whether whether you're directly involved or not, it's your fault, because it's you. That's your fault. That's narcissistic behavior.
And that's a pattern with abusive people. And you were in a very abusive relationship with Tim.
And it did not stop just because you left him.
Exactly. Mental abuse is a real thing too. And he had you to where you felt like you were lower than low, and that, you weren't good enough and this and that. I mean, I've been through it because I've been in my own situation with an abuser like that.
Right.
And, obviously, mental health care in this country is shit. It especially was back then. So yeah, no one can really fault you for self-medicating through alcohol and whatnot. I mean, we've all dealt with our demons. I was addicted to hardcore drugs for a long time. But that doesn't define who you are. God obviously had a purpose for you. You're here now. You're fighting for Timmy. You're fighting for other people who have gone missing. So God didn't want you gone. You're here for a reason, Barb.
Well, that's what everybody keeps telling me, because I've asked God to take me and I'm still here. But the thing is with Timmy was that I was left down in Marble Hill, and Timmy was up here living in St. Louis, and Timmy actually came down to Marble Hill and moved me up here so I could be closer to him, because I couldn't afford to move up here myself. So I sold my furniture and I sold my refrigerator and stove and stuff, and then Timmy got a U-Haul and came down, and he moved me up here closer to him. And that's how I ended up in St. Louis and not down in that town anymore.
And that was Marble Hill, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then when Tim was in prison, Timmy and Michael and I spent all my time with my friend Gina and her kids. And life was normal. It was great then. That was the most normal I've ever even lived. And so it was the most normal that Michael and Timmy ever lived. So they always said they were going to go back there and buy that house because we were happy there. And so Timmy moved back up here, went to his graduation. And it just didn't get, when you're having somebody and you're trying to raise kids and you don't have somebody to help back you up when it's time to correct them. I even heard his dad tell him that I was crazy. He didn't have to listen to me, that I'm just this crazy, delusional person. And that's how it went.
How did Timmy treat you? How did he behave towards you when Tim would say those sort of things?
Timmy said to me and my neighbor, he said, that he didn't understand that his dad hated me so much and why he was so mean to me, because if he had a baby and the mother and him and the baby didn't get, or him and the mother didn't get along, he would still respect the mom because it was the mother of his child. He goes, I don't understand why dad hates you so much. And I said, I don't either. To me, my neighbor, Timmy told my neighbor that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I made a lot of mistakes. I guess I feel guilty of things that I should have done differently, but I didn't know what else. I didn't know what to do. Every time I turned around, it all got brought back to me that I was just this terrible person. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm trying my best here to be a mom, but I don't know how to be a mom and try to correct the kids and take things away from them when they were in the wrong. And then I would call Tim up and say, hey, this is what the kids are doing. I need some backup here. And I actually heard Timmy's dad say, hey, she's just crazy. She's on one of her crazy episodes. Just take your things and leave. So I had no control over anything.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's wrong, because he needs to back you up, regardless of whether you're together or you're apart. At the end of the day, you're still, Timmy's parents. And so he should have been there to say, hey, look, you got to listen to your mom. You got to behave yourself. And we see this. A perfect example is like in Sebastian's case right now, where the parents are just too busy at each other's throats to focus on finding their son, which should be their ultimate goal.
Exactly.
Well, Thomas, I'll tell you a story about my son, Michael. He came in the house drunk at 15 years old. Well, I was mad, and he started cussing me even. So I said, you're not coming into the house at 15 years old drunk. That's not acceptable. So he started cussing me, and I go, and you're not going to cuss me. I'm your mother. So I called the police. Well, the police came, and I told the police, I said, he ain't staying here tonight. I had a friend that lived out in the country that had nothing, no internet, none of that to play games or anything. And I thought that would be a good punishment for him. So I made him stay out there for 2 days. And then he called me begging me to let him come home. I let him come home. Then 2 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail saying I'm being charged for domestic assault. Then I was a little confused. I said, domestic assault, I thought was when you put your hands on somebody. Well, that's not true, because I went in there. I had to go pick up Michael from school, and then I had to go to the juvenile officer, and we go in there, and the lady she asked me to sit down, and I'll be honest, I was pretty upset. And I said, I'm not going to sit down. Michael was sitting there, and I said, there's no reason I'm going to sit down. I said, I had the letter in my hand. I go, what's this letter for? I said, how can I get charged for domestic assault when I didn't put my hands on him and he didn't put his hands on me? I said, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to put up with a teenage punk. I said, he's acting like a punk, coming in my house, cussing me and drunk. Not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, well, domestic assault is yelling. I said, what are you talking about, yelling? She goes, oh, yeah, you can't yell at your kids.
That's bullshit.
So
Please.
I went off on this lady. I thought I was going to end up in jail, because I even got in her face, because I was so angry that if that is the law, that you said that to me right in front of my son. So you took my power away from me and you handed it to him. So after that, when I would try to correct the kids, it was like, oh, what are you going to do? Call the police? If you call the police, then you're the one that's going to go to jail.
I'm going to interject here real quick because I have a funny story. Okay, so my ex-husband and my kids found out about this story when their grandpa died here a few months ago. My ex-husband was in high school, sitting at the table, doing homework with a bunch of friends, and he got snotty with his mom. And he said something along the lines of, well, I'm going to call child services on you. She rolled up a phone book, smacked him across the head, and said, there you go. Go ahead and call him. And then when his dad got home, he was like, and Bonnie told him, what had happened. His dad looked at him and said, you're lucky I wasn't here. I would have thrown the fridge at you.
Well, the crazy thing about this is, though, so then I put Michael in counseling. Michael and Timmy were both in counseling. I put them both in counseling because there was so much stuff they needed, So I asked the counselor, I said, hey, I was just at the courts and this is what they told me. I said, is it a law in the state of Missouri? And he said, absolutely. And I was like, are you kidding me? So now you can't spank your kids and you can't, if you yell at them, you go to jail. That is a law in Missouri. That just kind of stunned me because it really is a law.
That's the most batshit crazy thing I've ever heard in my life. Because
they'll try to arrest you for yelling at Michael.
Exactly.
But Timmy's murderers out walking the streets and they're, saying things like, this is Burger King, have it your way, when he's brought in for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That ate at me for days. And so we went from that to, like I said, Timmy moved up here to St. Louis because Dad had the money and was going to let him do whatever he wanted to do and use my kids as mules to sell his weed.
Well, I'll tell you, my nephew tried to pull that shit saying they were going to call the cops or CPS one time because I was yelling and screaming at them over some dumb shit they'd done. I was like, okay, great, Dalton. Since you're going to call them, I might as well go ahead and get a few licks in and give you a reason to call them. I took my belt off and started chasing him through the house. I didn't hit him, actually, but I wanted to put the fear of God in him. And let me tell you something, that boy did not pick up the phone and call anyone.
Well, the reason why I even did it was because when I was a kid, my dad was an alcoholic and he came home drinking and he was coming after me and was going to hit me upside the head with a chair. So my sister picked up a chair and hit him and we ran out the door and we called the police. The police came and they really got into me and my sister and told us that was our dad. We had to respect him, and all that. So when I called the police on Michael, I thought I was going to get help. I didn't know I was going to try to get charged for domestic assault because I was yelling. I did not know you. So you can't yell at your kids. I mean, how are you supposed to correct them if you can't do anything? And then, like I said, I'd call Timmy's dad and say, hey, this and this and this is going on and I need help. And he'd say, well, your mom's just crazy. She's on one of her crazy episodes. So I wasn't getting any support. And that's, in that way to help me with teenage boys. I was just trying to do my best. I don't know what I was doing. I was just living.
Well, parenting is a guessing game.
But when you got parents, don't you stick together and help support each other to do the right things?
Well, that's what some parents are. Tim isn't a parent. Tim is a narcissist. That's all he is. As long as he can use it against you, that's all he cares about. And you know that by how he reacted when Timmy was found. Oh, well, Barb, he just laid down in the field and died. And that's just how it's going to be. And, I'm going to go. head off with my best friend Jeff Johnson over here and go have some beers and cry my little tears out.
There's no doubt in my mind that when this all happened, that he told the highway patrol that I was crazy, so that's why they wouldn't talk.
Well, that's why they treated you like you were crazy.
No, I'm crazy. I'll give you that. I'm crazy enough. I'm not going to go away because I know that Timmy was unalived. I know that's the truth. So I don't know how he went home and just when he was at the courthouse, he showed up and he told me, no matter what, we're going to find out what happened to Timmy. And when we find out, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I took him for his word for it. But then as soon as Timmy was found, he was gone. And then he sued me. He tried to sue me. I did the sunshine law request, and a police officer knocked on my door, and I thought, wow, this is great. They deliver, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I thought. And the guy says, here, this is for Timothy Dees. And I said, well, sir, I'm not understanding this. I said, my son's passed away. He goes, I don't know, ma'am. Are you Barbara Hall? And I said, yes, I am. And he goes, well, he said, you've been served. So I come in the house and I look at this paper and I've got the documents. Timmy's dad was suing me for Timmy's body. You guys know that. Remember, I called you.
Right, yes.
Said, I'm getting sued for Timmy's body because he said I was torturing him by leaving Timmy at the funeral home because I was trying to get the second autopsy. And
again, you were the problem. Narcissist.
And then, when we moved to Marble Hill before Tim went to jail, he only stayed in our house for one night before they caught him because he was going to go on the run and try to work and save up his money before he had to go to prison. And we bought a house about 3 blocks away from his mom and dad's house. And I enjoyed that. I wanted to live there next to his grandma and grandpa because they loved Timmy and Michael very much. And they were good to Michael and Timmy. They were. But after we split up, then I was the bad guy. I was good enough to raise my kids while he was in prison for them 3 years. But as soon as he got out of prison, then I was a no good mom and I was this crazy person and I had no business raising my kids. That's how that went. And I was stunned because I thought I was good enough then, but I'm not good enough now. It didn't make any sense to me. And then it was just torture. It was mental torture. But now Michael and Timmy are together. And the foundation is to help other families not to do this. And a lot of the reason why I talk about some of the things that happened through Timmy's childhood and our lives is to help other people's families realize that when you have domestic violence and you have alcohol and that stuff, you're showing your kids things that they should never have to have seen. I lived it as a child. I should have known better, but I didn't. I just didn't. I tried to do my best, but my best wasn't good enough.
Can I ask you, was there a big difference between how Tim treated Timmy versus how he treated Michael?
Yes. Tim always called Timmy the golden child. And that bothered me because I lost the comments here. Tim always called Timmy the golden child. And that would be a problem for me because it bothered Michael. It messed with Michael. And then you wonder why Michael had mental problems because all Michael ever did was run around trying to please Timmy's dad because Timmy's dad was Michael's dad to Michael. And Michael didn't even call Tim dad until we split up. And Michael wanted to be with, he wanted to see Tim. And I could have been mean, and the courts didn't make me let him see Michael. I could have
Right.
kept Michael from him, but Michael loved him, and he loved he knew Timmy's grandmother and grandfather as his own. So I was just trying to make Michael happy. I didn't want to hurt Michael any more than Michael was already hurting, and that was his family. So I could have taken Michael and not let him go around him, but I did not do that. I let Michael go on the weekends with Timmy to his dad's. And then they would go do all these wonderful things together, like for an example, on Mother's Day, because I got Timmy every Mother's Day, he got Timmy every Father's Day, and we alternated holidays and every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mother's Day came, and he pulls up in a brand new truck with a big trailer on the back and a brand new four-wheeler on the back of it, and got the kids all excited to go with him and ride this four-wheeler on some land that he owned down there. Well, of course, I'm not going to tell the kids no. They were boys. They wanted to go ride that four-wheeler. It didn't matter if it was Mother's Day.
Right.
So of course I said, yeah, you boys can go. And I'm not going to lie. So what did I do? I walked down to the neighborhood bar and got drunk and cried. I come home. Timmy was home. Michael wasn't home. And I was like, well, where's your brother? Oh, he's going to stay the night out there at the farm with Dad. And I go, oh, no, he's not. And my dumb butt got in the car, decided I'm going to go out to that farm and do something. I pulled in the wrong driveway. I had no business drinking or driving, for that matter. And they came out and put a gun to me. But the lady knew Timmy's dad, and she's very supportive, and she got me home. And yeah, there's just so much.
Well, I'll tell you something. One thing my daddy always told me was that if I ever got into a relationship with someone that had kids, that there's no such thing as steps. Those kids become your kids. They should be no different than any kids that your seed created. So
I agree completely. And I used to think it was an antiquated idea that, that there were people out there years and years ago that would be like, well, that's not my kid, but this one is. But I'm finding out the more and more I'm out here, especially in these missing cases, the more I find out that that is still a very real thing. There are a lot of step parents that will not treat the children the same.
Oh, 100%. And we see it in the foster care system too. A lot of these people sign up to become foster parents just so they can get the paycheck and everything.
Yes.
And I've seen foster families out there. They'll take their own kids on a Disneyland vacation, and they'll leave the foster kids there to fend for themselves. It's not right. If you're going to take on the responsibility of being a step parent or a foster parent or any kind of parent, you treat all the kids equally. You treat them the same. That you treat them as if you created those kids.
I love kids anyway. I love all kids. So that's where Caleb came in the picture, because Timmy was already going to school with Caleb, but when Timmy would come home from his dad's for the weekend, I'd have all these kids show up at my house. It's like, wait a minute, something ain't right here. And Caleb was one of those kids. And that picture that I have for this, that I put out there to announce this podcast, is a picture of Caleb and Timmy's grandmother, because Timmy would actually have Caleb come up to St. Louis for the weekend when he was visiting his dad and his grandmother. And there was stuff in that basement that was being grown. I mean, there was just And then before Michael passed, Timmy went to rehab after he got out of the hospital from having that car accident.
And wait, one second. Was the car accident when he wrecked the Monte Carlo? Is that
No,
the one where he did all where he
no, he
was
didn't get
really
hurt from
badly hurt?
wrecking it. He didn't get hurt
Okay.
from wrecking the Monte Carlo. This was when Timmy got a little older and he was going on his way to work and he had that accident and he broke his neck, his pelvis, and his back, and
Mm.
all the skin off of one of his hands was gone. So they had to do skin grafts and he had a brain bleed. Well,
How
Timmy,
old was he at that time?
shoot, I don't even remember because he was only 25 when he disappeared. So, and it was, and Michael had passed just before that. So it was I'm going to say Timmy was 21, maybe. Yeah, around
Oh,
21,
okay.
19, 21. And he was in the hospital for a long time. And then he got out of the hospital, went to rehab, got better, got addicted to pain pills. And when he got addicted to pain pills, he was 22. That's it. He was 20.
Okay.
And when he got addicted to those pain pills, it got really bad. I told you before, he lost his girlfriend that he loved, the only girl that he ever loved, because that's the only relationship he had a chance to have. And he knew he ruined that relationship, so he wanted to go to rehab. He went to rehab in Florida. Michael had gotten better at that point too. He was not doing any drugs. He was gotten to a better place, and he started staying with Timmy's dad because Timmy's dad has an apartment in the downstairs in his basement. It's an apartment. So Michael started staying there with Tim, and he was going to stay there because Tim was going to go down to Florida where Timmy was in the rehab center and see Timmy and bring Timmy a car. And I told Tim, I said, he doesn't need a car down there. There's no point in bringing a car down there. He's down there to get help. Well, he told Michael that Michael could stay at his house and take care of his house. And then the day he left, he told Michael couldn't stay there. So Michael came to my house to stay. And Michael was destroyed. He was destroyed. He started partying again. He started drinking again. He got on the drugs again. And he went down to my neighbors, and he's crying to my neighbors because Tim started sending pictures to my son Michael of him and Timmy being on the beach. And it destroyed Michael. It was bad. So then Michael started partying again, and then that's when Michael got doing the drugs again, and that's when fentanyl killed Michael.
Mm.
But I mean, that's torture in itself. You go down to Florida and then you start sending, after you tell Michael he can't stay at your house, and then you go down there taking pictures of you and Timmy on the beach and sending it to Michael. That's cruel.
Yeah, that was completely uncalled for. I mean, it's bad enough that he cuts Michael out of the trip. Again, if you're going to take on the responsibility of being a father to a child, you treat the children equally. I mean, and to send pictures of you and Michael and Timmy having all this fun out on the beach while he's stuck in fucking Missouri, no. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's cruel and unusual.
But as far as I will say, as far as the kids having things, like they had nice clothes. Tim did make sure the kids had nice clothes, and the
because that reflected on him.
Yeah, the appearance was good because they didn't like not have anything. They had everything they wanted, but that's the problem. Tim would give them everything they wanted to make me try to look like the bad person because he knew I couldn't afford to do that stuff. It's just a lot.
Well, I will tell you,
Go ahead.
I would much rather have a parent that was looking out for me and making sure I didn't get into the trouble that I likely would get into as a teenager. Because let me tell you, I was a rambunctious teenager. And my parents were on top of it. I am so glad that they stayed on top of me the way that they did, because, I could have very easily become a statistic myself. I'd much rather have that than someone that's just going to try to buy my affection with all kinds of material things. That's not what a parent is. A parent is someone to guide you and correct you and make sure you stay on the right track so that, you might actually end up living a full life to 80 or 90 years old and make something out of yourself.
Well,
Right.
Tim, I think he decided to he hated me so much he wanted to make my life miserable. So even when the kids would be up here in St. Louis with him, he would do things like call me on the phone. He'd tell the kids, watch this. I can get your mom upset. And he'd call me on the phone and he would say things to me that would get me all upset. And then the kids would come home and say, yeah, Dad did that right in front of us. And he goes, yeah, I remember Dad calling. And I go, well, why? He goes, well, he wanted to show us how he could get you upset. And he has this evil laugh that he would laugh and think that stuff's cute, but it's not cute to kids. It does not hurt. It does not help kids. So the kids the money, he took them everywhere. He took them on vacations. He took them places when we split up that he never took us as a family. We never did that stuff as a family. But once we split up, it was like, what can I do to torture you? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that was his attempt to regain control over you, to hold his control over you, by teaching the boys that was okay, that was funny. This is what we do to people who hurt us. And I know you blame yourself for a lot, but I'm pretty sure that it was seeing the way that he treated you that made them want to be so much better than him.
Oh, they thought he was cool, though. That's the crazy thing. They thought he was
kids.
cool. They wanted to be like him, and he told them that even when they got their jobs and made good money, he would say, well, you always still have to have a side hustle. And the kids would come over and tell me that and be like, no, you don't, that's stupid. What is wrong with your dad he's saying them stuff to you? You guys you make good money. There's no reason to have some kind of side hustle. And it used to be a joke. They would laugh about it and think that's funny. And I would tell them that is not funny. That's not how life goes. And then you wonder why there's damage done to young, impressionable kids.
Right.
That's not how you live.
Oh, absolutely. Tim set the worst example possible for those kids. And the fact that they even made it to a point, especially Timmy, where he had such a good job and everything, is a testament to your parenting, because it certainly wasn't because of anything Tim did as a parent.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yes.
Tim did help Timmy get that job because Tim was working for that union hall. And
well, I'm glad that Tim did something for Timmy in Timmy's life.
Well, he did. He helped Timmy get the job and Michael get jobs there. But them jobs wasn't really a good job for the boys to have. I didn't really agree with the job because they already had issues with, there's a lot of drugs. When you work for bands and you're setting up bands, you know what that's like.
Yeah.
I don't really want to get into details about it, but you make connections. You got a connection from your dad. So when you have connections from your dad and your dad's giving you stuff to get rid of for these people.
And Dad's only job has been in his entire life has been selling drugs.
Well, and when I met him, he was selling marijuana. That's what he did. Mm-hmm. He did not get a job until Timmy was born. And that's when he got a job at the stagehand union, Local 6, and he worked there. And then when the kids got older, he got them on there. And then Timmy got in the union because you have to get voted in at that union. They don't.
Okay.
You have to work a certain amount of hours before you can get in the union, or you have to get voted in by the other union members. And I got a video that actually Kit True Crime made for me, and in that video, it's a picture of Timmy getting his union card.
Okay.
And then when COVID hit, you know, they're not going to have any concerts, so Michael went and got a different job because it just wasn't working for him. Michael started having mental problems besides the other problems, and he couldn't do it.
Right.
So Timmy stuck with
Well,
that.
Michael always had to keep moving.
And then when after Michael had passed, Timmy went in the stress unit a few times, and I picked Timmy up from the stress unit, and he was going to go to Teen Challenge. I don't know if you guys know what Teen Challenge is.
No.
It's a like a long-term treatment, faith-based place. And I took Timmy. Timmy was all excited. He was ready to go get things better. He wanted a better life, and I believe he would have got there. But what happened was, I took Timmy. I went and bought him new razors. I bought towels, body soap. I mean, we went on this shopping spree to get everything that Timmy needed to go to this place.
Mm-hmm.
Tim said he had it set up for Timmy to go there. So I picked up Timmy from the stress unit, and I went down to Cape Girardeau where Teen Challenge is, and we pulled up there. I mean, me and Timmy had a great day. Like I said, we went shopping, we sang, and he's like, Mom, my life is going to be good. Things are going to be much better. And I mean, it was great. And so we got there, we pulled in the parking lot, and there was nobody there. So Timmy and I got out of the car, and we walked up there and rang their doorbell, and this guy comes out, and I was like, Timmy said, I'm ready to be here. And I said, and the guy says, well, your paperwork's not done. And I go, what do you mean the paperwork's not done? His dad said that this paperwork was done. Timmy's going to go into this program. And Timmy's outside I go to the car and call Timmy's dad. And I go, what the hell? I said, I'm here. Timmy's here. He's ready to come into this place. I said, and you don't have the paperwork done? I said, what am I supposed to do now? I said, Timmy's outside my car begging this guy to let him in this place. And he goes, I don't know. He goes, so I go to my girlfriend Gina's with Timmy. I take Timmy to my girlfriend Gina's. We stay the night because Tim said he was going to have the paperwork taken care of that next morning. Well, the next morning came. Tim called me and said he was going to get a hotel room in Cape Girardeau. So he got a hotel room. I took Timmy over to the hotel room, was waiting for him to show up there. When he showed up, he didn't want me around, so I gave Timmy a hug and a kiss, and I said, I love you, and your dad's going to take you there and get this straightened out tomorrow. Well, I drove home, which is like over 2 hours drive. I come home, I call Timmy, and I go, what you doing? And he goes, I'm at the cemetery. I go, the cemetery? I go, what are you doing at the cemetery? He goes, well, we're burying Michael. I go, what do you mean you're burying Michael? I said, I thought we were going to go do that all together. And he goes, well, Dad told me that you said it was okay. And I said, Timmy, no, it's not okay to bury Michael without me. And so Timmy broke down and started crying. And at that point, I didn't want Timmy upset. So I said, Timmy, don't worry about it. You just go ahead and you guys bury Michael, and I'll come down there later, and you and I can go there, and we'll put flowers on Michael's grave and everything. I don't want you to be worrying about this. It's not your, I didn't want him stressing. He was already stressing anyway. So apparently that night, him and his dad got in a big fight, and that's where Caleb came back in the picture. Caleb went to that hotel room and picked Timmy up that night. And that's when Timmy and Caleb started hanging out again together.
Well, I'll say the whole burying
thanks
Michael.
For that, Tim.
Well, the whole burying Michael without you was a real punk bitch move on Michael's part, because Michael wasn't even. I mean, Tim was not even a real father to Michael at all. So for him to sit there and take, burying Michael away from you was just another nail in the fucking coffin in my book.
got
I
messed
just can't believe that that man had the audacity to bury your son without you and to lie to Timmy about it, acting like you weren't going to figure it out.
Well,
The
that's what
sick
upset
son of a
Timmy so
bitch.
much. So I guess they had got, from what I've understood, they got in a big fight. Timmy got a hold of Caleb because Caleb lives down in that area. And that's when Timmy started hanging out with Caleb again. And of course, I did not know that Caleb was into the things that Caleb was in because I found out since then that Caleb had been shooting meth for 2.5 years.
Hold on for 1 second, please. I just got to say something. Tim, if you're listening again, thank you. Thank you for all that you did for Timmy and bringing Caleb back into his life. You piece of shit. Okay, go
But
ahead.
the whole
Sorry.
point of this whole podcast and doing this stuff is to help others learn. I'm hoping I can do something to help people understand that when there's things that you let your kids see that can damage them. And I do feel responsible for some of the stuff that I was trying to deal with in front of my kids that they shouldn't have seen. The depression. Oh my God. I was so depressed. There was times I laid in bed and I didn't get out of bed until they got home from school. And then I'd get up trying to act like I was all right and cook dinner and do the things that I was supposed to do.
But those things, Barb, they never saw them. They did not see it. What they saw was you getting up every day, taking care of them, going to work, making sure they had everything they needed, and dealing with their piece of crap dad on top of it. To them, you were a freaking warrior.
Well, that's funny you say that because one day in the car, me and Timmy, after he came back from rehab, we were in the car and we were singing this song, that Roar song. It's a Christian song. And we were singing that song. I said, that's a Christian song? He goes, really? I go, yeah. So we sing it at church, Timmy. And he goes, well, I like it. And we're singing that song. And he said, Mom, he said, when I was in rehab in Florida, he said, I just want you to know, I think you're the strongest person I've ever known. And I go, why you say that? And he goes, because I know what your childhood was like. And I met people in that rehab center that had horrible childhoods. And it just made me look at you as a stronger person because, my childhood wasn't the greatest. It was abuse and alcohol. And my mom dumped me as a kid and my sister and brother when I was 5. She just took us to a babysitter's. We thought we were being babysat and she never came back. And then my dad picked us up. Well, he'd come see us on the weekends when he found out where we were at. And then he got us. But my dad was a very bad alcoholic. So Timmy knew what my childhood was like. So he always said I was the strongest person that he ever known. So I'm trying to stay strong and get through this and be the best I can be to help other people and what Timmy would want because he told me he wanted to leave a legacy.
Right.
Because he's strong in school.
And you're doing that for him. I'm
trying my best.
And look at all the lives he's already touched, just in all the people that have become pretty much family to you, covering his story and trying to help get him justice. I would say he's already left a pretty good legacy.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. It's just ironic that how often do you have a conversation with your kid that says, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I want to leave a legacy. And then it's here. We're here now with this. What's the chances of stuff like that happening?
Hey, he knew what he wanted from life and he got it.
Yeah.
And he'd be so proud of you, Barb.
Oh, 100%.
He and Michael both would be so proud of you because the things that we're going to do, you, me, Arctic, Dago, Doodlebug, Mom, Nick, man, we're moving mountains, girl. We are moving mountains.
What is the chances? Because since this has all happened, like I said, when I met Arctic, I didn't even know what a podcast was. I didn't have social media, so I wasn't into all of that, any of it. So then when Timmy was missing and Arctic got a hold of me, it was like, what's the chances of Arctic, somebody just calling me like that? I feel like it was prayers answered. And then my sister found True Crime Web Foundation. And man, it was just like, it had to have been God. I don't know how else to explain that, because I don't even know how I stood every day. If it wasn't
Right.
for
I will tell you right now that both Timmy and Michael are up there in heaven, smiling ear to ear with everything that you are doing right now, not only to get justice for Timmy, but to help so many others that are missing that don't have justice. So don't think that they're not up there just proud as can be of you, because I promise you they are.
that's what the whole thing is. I just want to make my kids proud of me and help other families not have to go through this, and understand that some of the things that you do around your kids can damage your kids. It can. I mean, the beatings, the things that my kids seen. I mean, you walk in my house, Arctic, my house is clean. They had good clothes. They had everything they wanted. And there was food in the house, but it didn't mean that everything was great. Yeah, it appeared to be great, but it wasn't.
Oh, I mean, and that's the case in so many households, you know. It's called the Brady Bunch facade, where everything looks great from the outside looking in. But so many of those houses that look so great from the outside, you go inside and it's a living nightmare. Rebecca is in the back. You need to add her back to the panel.
Oh,
She fell off.
there she is.
Sorry, I touched something.
I do it all the time. I'm learning. I mean, like, I've never known a computer. I didn't know how to do a computer. I sit here with this computer that doesn't even belong to me. That's my nephew's. And I just sit here and I play with it every day to learn so that I can help these other families not go through some of the stuff that I have had to endure to get through this stuff. I mean, I have nothing. I mean, I don't have kids now. I'm not going to have grandkids. I'm not going to see my kids get married. I'm not going to see them have babies. I'm not going to have any of that now. So for me to be able to live, the only thing that seems to help life get a little easier is to give back. And that's the whole point of this, is Timmy wanted a legacy, and I want to give back to other families that have gone through this nightmare, because it's absolutely a nightmare. And the missing part, I met a lot of families that still don't have their loved ones. I am so grateful that I only had to wait 5 months. Arctic, I talked to you almost daily. You knew what it was like. I thought I was losing my mind, but I still got up. I don't know how I did it. It had to be God. I still got up every day and went to that courthouse regardless, because I used to pray for God to take me in my sleep. I did not want to live anymore. But then when he was found and everything went the way it did after he was found, it's like, what? I was stunned that's how it works. How do you help people when you don't have? Well, Fredericktown, I think there's some going on in that town. I'm just going to say that. I don't think that that's the way it's supposed to work, because
We don't think there's something going on in that town. We know there's something going on in that town.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You know, 160-pound women don't hang themselves from shower curtain rods and travel trailers.
Yeah.
And strangers going through town don't hang themselves on a tree across the street from the police station.
And people don't lay down and take naps and just die, but their heads are beat in.
Right.
But they decide now, a 19-year-old kid's going to walk down the street and decide to take a nap. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it became. It became just a thing where I don't know what else to do. It gives me peace and helps me be able to get up when it's helping someone else, because I don't have a hard time making a flyer, or I still want to go to the Capitol with the signs and try to make awareness of the people that are still missing, that nothing's being done about. because these families are sitting at home without their loved ones. And I know what that feels like. I thought I was going to lose my mind when I would leave Fredericktown because I knew he was there, but I couldn't find him. And that not knowing thing is enough to drive a person insane. So I thought, well, what can I do? What can I do to help? Because it helps me to help. And so I got to know other people that have missing loved ones and saw and heard what their stories and what they're going through. And it's like something's got to change to help some of these families have a place to go, to talk about, to even support, just to even have support.
Right. I mean, you know, and of course we have one of the greatest gifts of all that has worked with you, and that is Mr. Steve, who I'm pretty sure the poor man's going to end up having to move to Missouri too, so he can solve all these cases on his own, because clearly nobody else can do it.
That's pretty. I mean, to me, that was a prayer that I was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. And you know, I always, once I got in church, everything changed. I mean, my whole life changed. And so I would sit here and pray, and I would sing. And there's a song, it's called "He's Our Miracle Maker." So I was like, okay, well, God, you're the miracle maker. I need a miracle. And then my sister found True Crime Web Foundation, and the things that they do for families just is amazing to me, because it's like, what do you mean you're going to do this and you're not going to charge me nothing? You know,
right?
That doesn't happen.
After you spent how much money, you know, on second autopsies, on paper for making flyers, on DNA tests, on, you know, after you spend all this money, you finally find somebody who is this just like incredible person and runs this amazing foundation, and they're going to do that for you for free. And that is what Timmy's legacy is going to do too. And you know, people aren't going to have to pay $5,000 to get, you know, all of their paperwork. They're not going to have to pay for that second autopsy. That's what Timmy's legacy is being built to do for them.
Exactly. And, you know, like I said, people in your situation, you couldn't afford private investigators and stuff. You know, there's so many people out there in that same situation where law enforcement, especially adult cases, because law enforcement very, very rarely takes adult missing persons cases seriously, just like they don't take runaway cases seriously. And so it's left to the family to hire private eyes, which are very, very expensive. And so hopefully in starting Timmy's legacy, we'll be able to help cover some of those costs as well. It all adds up. And there's so much. I mean, I've worked with so many of these families, and you know, there's only so many resources out there. You know, True Crime Web organization is wonderful, and they're helping all they can. But, you know, there's only so many resources to go around from every organization. And so the more nonprofits that are out there advocating and doing these things, the better it's going to be for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've learned so much going through this that you know, how to do the paperwork, who you need to get a hold of, and what to do, that I thought, well, start this podcasting would be great to help other families that can get on and say, hey, I'm in this situation. I don't know who I'm supposed to get a hold of to get this information. Because if you're not careful, they tried to talk me into not getting all of the information. They tried to talk me into not paying the full amount. And they said, if you pay this much, we'll give you this much stuff. And it's like, no, I want all of it. I don't want just parts of it, because you're going to pick and choose what you give me, which I can prove they already did anyway. But that's besides the point. You know, so I thought I could do this, and then when a family needs somebody and they need to know how to do a sunshine law request and everything, I could help them get started on that thing. And, you know, just learning, because it's a learning experience. And I'm pretty good at the sunshine law request and what to do.
Right. You really are. You found a way to get as much information as possible, where there were a lot of people in your same shoes who were requesting, this information. And instead of being told what they needed to do, they were requesting, I want everything on this person's case from this police department. And that was it. And that's just not how it works.
No, you have to go, like, if you want the coroner's report, you have to do a sunshine law for the coroner. You have to do a sunshine law for the pathologist. You have to do a sunshine law for the sheriff. Everybody that's involved in the case, you have to do a separate sunshine law request for that information. Because I did have a lady get a hold of me just recently, and she said, well, I did the sunshine law and they didn't give me anything. And I said, well, who'd you send it to? And she said she sent it to the coroner. I said, well, you're only going to get what the coroner's going to give you. You're not going to get the investigation, because that's coming from the police. I said, so you got to do another sunshine law request to the police department. And then you got to do another one to the detective. So it's not just one piece of paper that you do and you get everything, because it doesn't work like that. And
I bet that if you hadn't had somebody that told you, no, you have to do it this way, all these other people that are going about doing it, they call the police department and they're like, hey, why isn't the coroner's report in here? Well, you have to get that from the coroner. So then they write a Freedom of Information Act request to the coroner. Hey, why isn't the autopsy report in here? Oh, you have to get that from the county recorder's office.
And what do you don't have any money?
And I mean, I realized that when we were setting up Timmy's second autopsy, because as I was talking to Dr. Godfrey, he was like, okay, I need this, 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 and this. And I was like, okay, well, she did the Freedom of Information Act. He's like, nope, they're not going to do anything to help. She needs to call them. She needs to tell them this is what she needs. She needs to go to the county recorder's office. That's where she's going to get the autopsy report, so that's where a lot of, where I got a lot of information when we started looking into getting the second autopsy done. And then the whole Tim suing you thing, and then the funeral home going, oh, well, you have to pay, every single day that his body's here, until I called and said, hey, we have a second autopsy. It's scheduled for this day. And this is the person doing it. And they were like, oh.
I think that was a big scam. I don't think they could have done that until it went to court, because they, when Tim tried to sue me for Timmy's remains, bones.
Yeah, they were just trying to get it out of there.
I think Tim went to that funeral home and he tried to get them to bully me.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so that didn't work. So then that's after he gave me that, I got that call from the funeral home saying they're going to charge me $50 a day for every day Timmy was there. That's when I got the talking to the lawyer. So I called that lawyer that was on the paperwork that Tim had served to me. And I said, what is going on here? I said, I'm not trying to do anything, sir, other than to get a second autopsy for my son. And he goes, well, ma'am, I can't talk to you. I don't work for you. So I called the courthouse and I talked to this lady at the courthouse, and I broke down and I told her everything that was going on. And I said, what do I do? And she said, I'll tell you what. She said, you write a letter and you tell the judge that the thing that you're trying to do is get a second autopsy. She said, then take it to the bank. She said, and get it notarized. And she said, and you send it to us. And that's what I did. So, I mean,
if I'm remembering right, Tim had a deadline for you that he wanted to have Timmy buried by Thanksgiving. And the autopsy wasn't until end of December, beginning of January.
Yeah. Yeah, because we buried Timmy, January?
And that was the timeline that he put in the lawsuit. He wanted Timmy to be buried by Thanksgiving,
right,
2021.
And he called me on the phone and he said, if you want to keep this up, This was his exact words. If you want to keep this up, he said, then you can just have him. I don't know what they call that when you have him taken, dug back up. I don't know what's that called.
Exhumed.
Consumed. Yes. And he said, you can just do that if that's what you want. You just need to leave this alone. Nothing bad happened to Timmy. He just laid down and died. And I go, Tim, that is not what happened. And he said, this was his exact words to me. He goes, I just can't wait till this stuff is done because I can't stand you. I can't even stand hearing your voice. He said, and I can't wait till this is all over so I never have to speak to you again.
Well, Tim, just so you know, you were wrong. Timmy's case has been solved, and you will find out the details in court.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad thing about it is I don't understand that that was his son. That's Tim's only child. Timmy was his only child. And you don't care that he was unaligned and you just let it go. I just don't understand that because when he did hire the PI for a little while and the PI met up with myself and it was the PI, Tim, this lady and her husband and this guy. I called you after that happened to me, Arctic. And remember I told you that gruesome story I heard?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy said he would meet up with us. Timmy's dad paid him $1,000 to get the information off of this guy and found out that the information wasn't true. And then when the highway patrol got involved in the case, they said that they were going to find out what happened. They were going to go after this guy that took the $1,000 from us, from Timmy's dad. Then all of a sudden, nothing. And so I found out the guy's name, his real name, because he was saying his name was Tom, but his name's not Tom. I have pictures of him. I tried to give that to the highway patrol, and they told me that has nothing to do with Timmy's death. I said, that's not what you told me in the beginning. You said you were going to go after this guy that knew all this stuff, and you were going to at least get the $1,000 back. And if you listen to the recordings, because after they started when Timmy was found and they started telling me that he froze and then he was running and then he fell down and maybe hurt himself. They told me like so many different stories. And I said, well, it doesn't make any sense to me. And
well, Barb, I'm just going to say it should not be a shock to any of us that Tim hasn't fought for Timmy. He wasn't a father while Timmy was alive. Why should he be a father after Timmy's passed?
Because Timmy deserved it.
I know he deserved it. He deserved so much better than what he got.
The thing is, Barb, that you think like a rational person. You think like somebody who, like a normal person. Tim only thinks about himself. That is a narcissist. He only thinks about what's going to better his life. And what bettered his life when Timmy died was being best friends with the officer who closed his case. That became his drinking buddy.
Oh, and given how law enforcement, given how they are there in Fredericktown and everything, that probably was his weed buddy too.
No problem. Yeah, probably.
Well, that ain't half of it, Arctic. And when we met up with that guy, I found out later, when we met up with that guy and Tim gave him the $1,000, I smoke a lot now. We all went outside to smoke, and Tim was outside with the guy and was trying to get the guy to sell weed for him.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, there's just so much that's just like, what about Timmy?
I mean, you have bled yourself dry. I mean, and you guys,
I don't have gas to leave my house. I don't have nothing left. I've spent every dime I actually have unless I sell my house. But I'm not going to have to do that because I got blood, because I was going to get a detective. But then my sister found True Crime Web Foundation and they took Timmy's case. And that was a miracle to me because I was ready to give up everything I even have just to find out what happened to him.
And you guys, I'm just gonna, because Barb doesn't want to bring it up herself, I'm going to bring it up, okay? Barb is broke. She has gone through everything from Michael's life insurance policy to get all of the tests and everything done for Timmy. She has nothing. She scrounged together enough change to get a pack of cigarettes for today. So please, if you guys want to help Barb, please hit those Venmos, Cash Apps,
I mean, I've had
PayPal's.
Speaking of which,
And
Barbara, look at your phone because you should have had a few Venmos come in. I know of at least one that came in because a friend was going to donate to my channel. I told him I'd rather them donate to the organization.
oh, thank you, Arctic.
so if you guys can, please just send Barb some money so she can go with what she needs for her daily things for now, and at least get through this month.
When we went to the Capitol the last time, I had to buy a tire. I had one tire. My car was bouncing around. I didn't know it was out there. It ended up being a tire. Then the next time we go, I find out my other tire is messed up on my car, so I had to buy 2 tires for the car. And I want to keep going back to Jeff Bishop, the Capitol, with my signs where he's missing, because some of these people are still missing and nobody's doing anything. And I know what that feels like, to go to sleep at night knowing where your baby is. He was my baby. I had to go get a DNA test from a baby that I knew I gave birth to. That's a nightmare. It is so unfair. And then knowing that it's not like Timmy's family is broke. They're not. Timmy's aunts, uncles, all of them, they are.
All of the donation sites are on the description page at the about section on the channel. So there should be one there for Cash App, one for PayPal, and one for Venmo. Also Barb's Amazon wish list for paper and markers and things is there as well, you guys.
But that's what I do to try to keep myself busy and do okay, is I'll make a sign for somebody that's missing, so that when I go to the Capitol, that they can see that there's another person missing. Well, I mean, I don't get how. I don't know. I guess I truly believe that when somebody was missing, I didn't know all this stuff happens. That when a person's missing, that people look for them. I've seen people missing in the whole town, and the police and everybody's looking for them. And I was just stunned that I couldn't even get them to come out of the police station and even look. I mean, right. They would not walk out the door with us and even go look for Timmy. And now I know he was an adult. And if somebody wants to be an adult and they want to leave and disappear, which I know Timmy would never do that to me. He would not do that to me. I knew that because he knew how much I hurt from Michael. He would have not left me here alone. So I know he just wasn't disappearing. So that didn't jive for me. And I'm going down there and I'm looking for him. And then you won't come out of the police station. Well, he's an adult. Well, yeah, he's an adult, but he called 911 for help. People don't call 911 for help that's planning on vanishing or disappearing or going on the run, like Caleb was saying. And his stories have changed so many times. I mean, when a person's story changes that many times, don't you think that there's something wrong?
Like most of the time, I think those of us who have been in the true crime community for as long as we have, knows that even changing your story one time is suspicious.
Mm-hmm. If you're telling the truth, you don't have to think about your story, and it should never change. It should always be consistent.
Exactly.
Well, I remember, like it happened yesterday, the very first conversation I had with Caleb was he was furiously mad at Timmy and said that Timmy caused him to lose everything. And I go, what are you talking about? Why would Timmy cause you to, oh, I'm in jail because of Timmy. I lost everything and blah, blah, blah. And talking about the gas. And then the next time I talk to him, he says, oh, no, the gas was paid for. I saw Timmy pay for the gas. But all those recordings between Caleb and I are gone. They never gave them to me. I don't understand that either. They gave me the ones of him talking to his girlfriend and stuff, and some girl that he was even cheating on Amber with. I got all that stuff, but I don't have the recordings of Caleb and I talking. And I was working with Bob Miller from the Lawless Files that helped me tremendously. And we sat down at the library and we started looking at the stuff. And it was like, why is none of my recordings between me and Caleb talking? They're gone. And I wanted them stories because I wanted them conversations because that could prove that Caleb was talking about Timmy and telling different stories every time he talked to me. Why did that disappear? Why do I have them other ones, but I don't have the ones of him and I talking where I could prove that he changed his story that many times? Don't you think that's a little weird that I got the other recordings, but I don't have the ones of Caleb and I talking personally together? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I think that's weird.
I mean, why would you separate them and take the conversations between me and Caleb out, but you didn't take but you give me all this other conversations he had and then tell me they're gone? Well, where'd they go? You got these, but you don't have the ones of me and Caleb?
Well, I mean, it's just like they don't have a copy of the 911 call or anything else. I mean, no recording of that either because, oh, well, we've had all kinds of excuses as to why the 911 call didn't get recorded properly.
Oh, lightning.
Oh, yeah.
Lightning strikes the place all the time.
Lightning, and then they also said it was funding. I mean, they've given a couple of excuses along the way for why that call can't seem to be found.
Yeah. Well, the February the 28th will be 3 years that Timmy came up missing. So I am planning on going back down to that courthouse and sitting for the day. She knocked herself off again. But yeah, that's the plan for February the 28th. Because, I mean, the Timmy's case has been with the prosecutor now for over a month. And I haven't heard anything. I don't want to say the guy's not a good guy because I don't know him well enough to say that. But if nothing gets done and he doesn't at least open the case because there's too many unanswered questions not to open the case, that I'm just going to stay at that courthouse.
Well, I'll say this. Given everything that Mr. Steve found and presented to the prosecutor, if a case isn't opened, if justice isn't served, then that just proves 100% that there's corruption in Missouri, especially in Fredericktown.
Right. Oh, yeah, because I was there when Mr. Steve gave the evidence to the prosecutor. I sat there, listened to it all. Bob from the Lawless Files was there and recorded it all, even. I mean, it's all there. So
Yeah.
We'll see if he's going to do something with it. But it's been almost 2 months. So we'll see. But just if he doesn't do anything, then I'm just going to keep doing what I do. And I'm still, I met another lady. Her son was missing for 5 months, right next to Fredericktown. So the weather would have been the same. And he was missing for 3 years. He was found, and he has all of his teeth. So why is Timmy's teeth? Somebody knocked Timmy's teeth out.
Yeah, someone knocked his teeth out, and just like that permanent retainer coming up missing the way that it did. I mean, and I've seen the photos of the remains. His jaw is dislocated, and no one's going to ever tell me any differently when I look at those photos.
And so the family got a hold of me as soon as they got the coroner's report back, and all this kid's teeth is there, everything's there, but Timmy's teeth are gone. And when I first asked him about the bottom tooth, they told me that his tooth was it fell out naturally. Well, I didn't know any better. But then the top tooth, they didn't even mention. I would have not known that top tooth was missing if I wouldn't have got those pictures of Timmy being found on the scene. I would have not known that tooth was gone. They put that tooth back. It looks like his teeth were professionally cleaned. I'd like to have my teeth as white as his teeth are in those pictures. And I saw the pictures of the scene of when he was found, and then I saw the pictures they gave me, and they don't make any sense. They put his tooth back in his mouth and never even documented it, Thomas. It's not documented anywhere.
Oh, I know. I know. We've had discussions about it in length.
Mm-hmm. That's just unbelievable to me. I mean, I thought you documented everything. I thought you did a lot of things. I see people missing, and I see the community and the police looking for them, and I just was stunned that Timmy could be missing and nobody would look for him.
Well, and had things been handled properly, like an actual legitimate law enforcement agency would have handled, everything would have been documented. If they had found him without his upper tooth or lower tooth missing, that would have all been in the report when they found the body, and in all that information that you paid good money to have copies of. But apparently they just didn't care about chain of evidence or documenting anything.
Well, and then you figure he's been found now. There was no reason whatsoever, none, that he should have been laying in that. It's not a creek. It's like a little ditch. There's no, like, it's not like they make it sound like water raging down it. That it's not like
Right,
that.
it's like
I've
a
been there.
drainage ditch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it a dry creek bed because, there may or may not be water in there at any given time. And even when there is water there, it's certainly not enough to wash someone's damn shoes off of them, like what they're trying to say.
Oh,
Right.
But then it stopped, left his shoes, and then took his phone. Come on.
Yeah.
They treated me like I was they insulted my intelligence because I'm not stupid by any means. Maybe I'm not educated as much as I should have been. I mean, I graduated 8th grade. That's as far as I've been in school. But I got enough common sense to know that wasn't normal. And then when I said something about it, I said, well, okay, so the current goes so bad, it took his shoes off his body, but then what? The current stopped, left his shoes, and took his phone.
Yeah, that just no.
I don't know. I'm praying and hoping that we can get Timmy's legacy going, and we can use the legacy to help these other families not go through this and make signs and people get help, because I didn't get any help.
Well, and I'm just going to say, I don't know who the woman is, but Barb did get a call the other day from a woman who is ready and willing to make a very generous donation to Timmy's legacy once the paperwork goes through. So we have, these lives are helping to get the word out there. We definitely are getting some more movement in Timmy's legacy, and we're going to get there. We're, like I said, we're moving mountains here, and people are noticing. They are noticing.
Yep.
Well, faith of a mustard seed moves mountains. I actually got a necklace here. I don't know if you can see it, but it has a mustard seed in it, and it's got mountains over the top of it. I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes I'll rub this thing because I have to remind myself I know my faith is bigger than a mustard seed, so it can move mountains, because faith as a mustard seed can move mountains. And that's what I stand on. Because I couldn't have I couldn't live through this if it wasn't for my relationship with my Lord and Savior. There's no way.
I'm not going to lie. Your faith has strengthened my faith, because I've struggled honestly for with my faith for a while, since my niece was born, stillborn. That was just, I've been through a lot in my life, but that just took me down.
Well,
And the Lord and I, we have conversations, and sometimes they're very loud, and sometimes I am very vocal, but there are also times where he, speaks to me and says, "Hey, it's in my time. Things happen in my time, not yours."
well, it's like when I went to the Justice Center, and the judge's wife, which there is pictures out there, the judge's wife, I went to the Justice Center because I watched the Justice Center building get built. And I thought, well, they're having a ribbon cutting, so I'm going to show up for the ribbon cutting. So myself, my friend Mickey, and Karen, and Jason, that's been fighting for Gina Dawn Brooks, all of us go to the Justice Center. We walk in. As soon as we walked in there, their mouths dropped like we had the plague. And the sheriff was there. I went to the commissioners meeting. They were all in there, the ones that told me that it's a catch and release program. They couldn't do anything about the drug problem there when I tried to give them the address to the drug houses, which they call trap houses. And so I go to that meeting, or I go to that, and we all get in line because they're going to take a picture of the ribbon cutting to put in the newspaper for Fredericktown. And I thought, well, I'm here for justice. The building says Justice Center. I'm going to be there. So we get in line, and they go to take the picture. And the girl that's taking the picture goes, "Oh, this picture's not lined up right. We need to move you and you over to there, to the other side of the picture." Well, the judge, where Timmy's body was found, him and his wife, the guy's 6 foot tall. I'm 5 foot tall. The guy stands in front of me. So I look over at Karen, Doug Teal's mom, and I said, "I don't think they want us in this picture." Well, then the judge's wife starts going, "Oh, it's not like that." I go, "Yes, ma'am, I think it's exactly like that." So I ran in front of him and I kneeled on the floor. And I said, "I'm getting in this picture." And I had my T-shirt on, because they stopped us from bringing our signs in there, said we couldn't have signs. I said, "Well, that's okay. I'll just sit the signs down. And I've got my shirt says it all anyway." So I kneel on the floor. And while I'm kneeling on the floor, the judge's wife is going, "It ain't like that." I go, "Yes, ma'am, it's exactly like that." I said, "I'm 5'2", and your husband's 6 something, and you put him in front of me." I said it so that I'm not seen in this picture. I said, "But I'm going to get in this picture because I watched this building get built, and I sat at this courthouse, and I'm wanting justice, and these other mothers that are here are wanting justice for their family members too. That's why we're here. It's called the Justice Center." And then before the lady took the picture, she goes, "Oh, you can stand up now." So there's a picture of me on the floor, kneeling on my knees. And then there's a picture of me standing in the picture that they supposedly put in the newspaper. Well, after that event happened, the judge's wife come up to me with a few other ladies, and I had a pendant on that said "Missing in Missouri," because the day before I had went to Jeff City to the Missing in Missouri, that organization, which is a very good organization. I want to be a part of it and help. So they came up and they go, "You need to move on with your life." And I go, "Move on with my life?" I said, I'm not moving on with my life until I find out what happened to my son. And she goes, "Oh, you just need to move on. You're never, ever, ever going to find out what happened to your son." And I go, "Well, ma'am, apparently you don't know my God." And her mouth dropped. And she just looked at me. She goes, "You need to move on. You're never going to find out what happened to him anyway." And I just stood there. And honestly, thank God for God, because he gave me the strength to do it, because I wanted to attack that woman. I'm not going to lie. And then she tells me she lost her son. I immediately went just like this. And I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry for you losing your son." I said, "I know it's a nightmare, and I'm sorry for your loss." And she doesn't say anything. And she goes, you just really need to move on. I said, well, you'll find my skeleton remains on that courthouse steps before I'm moving on, because I'm going to find out what happened to my son, because God told me he was going to be found, and he was found, wasn't he? I said, and God told me that justice will be served. I will get justice for him. I said, he just told me it's going to be his timing. And unfortunately, my timing and his timing don't match up right now. And she goes, well, you're never going to find out what happened to him anyway. And then she kind of stomps off. She comes back and she says, well, you know who I am? I knew who she was. I lied. I said, no, because it just wasn't worth it. So I shook my head and I said, no, I don't know who you are. And she goes, well, I'm the judge's wife, and your son was found on my property. And she stomped off. Well, I walked out the door, grabbed a couple cookies, I'm not going to lie, and I ran to my car. And I just bawled in my car, and I started talking to God. I said, God, Jesus. I said, man, I said, I can't even imagine what life was like for you, because I feel like I was just crucified in there. And I just sat in the car and cried. And then when I found out that she sold the property and they moved to Florida. I don't even know why she was at that meeting. They had already moved to Florida, but she not one time said to me, I'm sorry for your loss.
And, and luckily for her, you didn't say, well, how was my son on your property? And you didn't know.
Oh, when I walked out of there, Mickey,
I'm pretty sure it was close enough that you could have known.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, when Mickey was there, Karen, Doug Teal's mom, and a few other people were there. And they looked at me when I walked out of that building, and they said, how'd you do that? I said, I don't know. Because they said they would have went to jail. It's a good thing my sister wasn't there, because I think probably would.
Good Lord. I think there's a lot of us here today that will need Fort Knox to supply bail money for us had we been there when all this took place.
Right. But I imagine us all getting together in Fredericktown when Caleb is finally arrested and he goes to, I think we're going to have a party. Okay. Like when he goes to jail, I'm planning a party.
I'm going to have a big barbecue.
But man, we're all going to have to give each other strength, because we're going to see these idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to forgive Caleb. I was angry and mad and everything, and I'm not mad anymore, but I do want him held accountable for taking Timmy's life, because I know he did.
I personally think we should have a pig roast in honor of the Fredericktown PD.
That's what I said, and some potato salad, the whole bit.
I love you, Arctic.
You would not believe. I just am a person that I believe that I don't believe you should have to be ignorant and mean to people.
Right.
And I don't give power away. My power comes from God. I don't give it to other people. And that's how I handled that. It was like, because everybody looked at me and said, how did you just do that and not just attack that woman? I said, it wasn't me. And I just wanted to go to my car, because I broke down, because I was stunned that even all happened. But I think that when you get mad and you go off on these people, then they want to make you out to be a nut job. And I wasn't giving them that kind of power, because my power, like I said, it comes from God, and I don't hand it to other people. So you're not going to get me to go off and go crazy and cussing and screaming, because it doesn't do you any good. It didn't. All it was going to do was hand power over to them, and then they can try to say that I'm crazy, like Timmy's dad's told everybody in the world. I'm just crazy.
Well, you know what? You've been talking about moving to Arkansas. I don't think you're crazy, but if you are, you sure as hell fit right in here.
Oh, I'm crazy. I'll admit to that. Crazy enough, I'm not going to go away. And I'm not afraid to die, so what are they going to do to me? I mean, if I die, I know where I'm going, so I'm not afraid. I get to go where Jesus and my kids are. So I don't feel like, see, I'm one that doesn't have anything to lose. A lot of these other families have other kids and grandkids and everything, and they're afraid to speak out, because if they speak out, they're afraid something will happen to one of their family members. I don't have that to worry about. So they should have left my son alone. They should have looked for him. They should have done something. I mean,
Right.
when you're begging somebody, you know your son's there, please help me. And I'm begging. And then I'm not kidding you. When I was at that courthouse, they drive by me every day. Every day, the police drove by because the courthouse is in the middle of the town. You have to go around the circle of the courthouse to go anywhere.
Well, and the fact that Timmy was found so close to where he had made the 911 call just shows the deficiency of the police department. Had they done their fucking jobs like they should have, he probably would still be with us because they would have found him. He wasn't even a mile from where he made the phone call, guys. I
Right.
mean, think about that for a second.
He was 184 yards.
Yards. Yeah.
That's what makes me so angry too, is that you went to that place. Timmy made a 911 call. Did you call him back? Did you even look for him? No, you arrested Trevor and you left. Within 8 minutes. They were there in 5 minutes. Between the whole call was 8 minutes. I got the time. I got a paper. It's got the timeline on it. And when I went to the highway patrol and I asked them, I said, well, why did you arrest Trevor when Caleb had warrants too? Why didn't you arrest Caleb? And they said, well, Caleb was in the house. I go, how do you know that? He goes, because him and Mike Busking told me. And I go, oh, because my son's dead. He's not here to defend himself. They're telling the truth. And you're just going to go by what they said? I said, it doesn't make any sense that you arrest one guy that's got a warrant, but Caleb had warrants and you didn't arrest him. He was in the house. Come on. And why was Timmy's debit card used?
Right.
I think that Trevor took one for the team, went out in the middle. And this is just my opinion. This is what I think happened. It's not saying it's the truth. But my opinion is that they did something to Timmy when he made the 911 call. They realized he made a 911 call because he was scared. They would do whatever they did to Timmy. Trevor went out in the middle of the street and they arrested Trevor to be, how do you say it? A decoy. I don't even know how to say it. He took one for the team. He knew he was going to go to jail. He had warrants.
Oh,
it would keep him
Trevor,
away.
he was a distraction.
A distraction, yeah. They should have drove up the driveway. There's a big barn there. I heard that barn was actually a meth lab. They had a meth lab in that barn. They never pulled up there. If they would have just pulled up there and looked for Timmy, Timmy could possibly still be alive if they would have just done that. There was no reason whatsoever that Timmy should have been sitting in a ditch for 5 months and rotten and like he was a piece of trash. And then they talked to me like trash after my son's found dumped like trash.
So just real quick, because we've been on for almost 2 hours now, but I want to get back to Timmy when he hooked back up with Caleb after Michael passed. Do you know how much time they were spending together at that time?
No, I did not. I heard about it. This was after Timmy was missing, that I heard that Timmy was in contact with Caleb, and I was told about the time that Timmy got a hold of Caleb. Caleb picked him up at that hotel room when Timmy was going to go to that place.
Right.
And I was told that and Timmy was talking to Caleb because Caleb knew Timmy's brother.
Right.
I mean, when you lose somebody, you want to be, if you have a friend, which Timmy thought Caleb was his friend, you're going to go to that person, and talk to that, because they knew the person that, you love. Like, that's like me losing somebody that knew you.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would get closer to you because I'm grieving my friend that I've lost.
And do you know how long they had lost contact for?
No.
Okay.
No, because Caleb, I was before I had gotten rid of my Facebook and stuff years prior, I was friends with Caleb on Facebook. And I would see pictures of Caleb with his girlfriend and him having a baby and all that. And I would praise Caleb. I said, I'm so proud of you, because I know Caleb had a rough life. He had a rough childhood. And so I would just get on there and tell Caleb how proud I was of him. Never dreamed that him and Amber had split up, and he had started hanging out with Mike Busking dated his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And this is hearsay. He was a meth cooker, been cooking meth for many years. And Caleb was hanging out with him. Like if you look at that video that I put on this the podcast, that's Mike Busking talking in that video, and he's saying how he saw Timmy. But I got another one I'm getting ready to put out of Caleb talking, and Caleb saying Mike Busking never saw Timmy's face. So them two right there are two separate stories that if I was a detective, I would be questioning them too, because their stories don't even match.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of these, all of the recordings that I have, none of their stories match. None of them are the same. Every one of them's changed. Mike Busking's talking about how he talked to Timmy that night, and he said, and the highway patrol was even asking him if Timmy was messed up. He said he didn't know, because he didn't know Timmy that very well. It's the first time he had met Timmy, and Timmy didn't seem to be messed up to him. But he said, but I don't know the kid. And then you got Trevor saying, well, I never met the kid before either. And then you got Caleb saying, oh, well, Mike Busking was sleeping, and I had to go. But Timmy went out to take a piss and never came back. But Mike Busking's talking about how he rode around with Caleb looking for Timmy. But when you talk to Caleb saying Mike Busking never even saw his face. So when you've got so many different stories, how can you close a case? There's no answers to these stories.
Right.
Well, it never was a case to begin with in their eyes. They immediately just assumed that he OD'd or he succumbed to exposure. That's what their MO has always been. Just like, there's the suspicious Facebook check-in that happened a month after Timmy went missing that they've never looked into, that they've never tried to ping his phone records or anything like that to see who made the goddamn check-in.
Right.
Well, and the other thing is too, Arctic, that nobody really, why don't they have the recording of the night, the C-Barn, the gas station, where the debit card was used. There was a recording there. They should have a recording to who used that debit card, right? That's right. Don't even know where it's at. I got a hold of the lady that owns the place. She said she gave it to the police. Well, where is it at then? Who used that debit card at 9:11 in the morning?
The day after. Or the morning after he went missing.
No, the same day. Because he called 911 at 4:40 in the morning, and at 9:11, which is so weird. Isn't that weird? Right. He called 911, and then his debit card was used at 9:11 in the morning. I don't have any of that.
Right.
She said she gave that to the police. The police never gave it to me.
And we all know how great Fredericktown is with keeping their evidence.
But that's what's crazy. So we know that they have cameras at the C-Barn gas station. That's a fact.
Right. So
if you have a video of Timmy there at 1:30 in the morning, alive and fine and well, where's the video of the 9:11 in the morning? Where's that? Right. It's vanished. Things just vanish.
Must have been struck by lightning.
Well, that's
because that, lightning strikes apparently happen, every 5 minutes in Fredericktown. So,
well, anytime you want anything, that's important,
right?
Because I was stunned about that. I was like, well, wait a minute. If you got cameras in this place, and you got cameras of Timmy being alive at 1:30 in the morning, and then the debit card was used at 9:11 in the morning, why wouldn't you have cameras for who used that card? So
Oh,
when I
because then if they were to have that footage, it would go against the narrative that they're trying to build, and they'd actually have to get off their ass and out of the donut shop and go do some real police work.
it's unreal. Thank you guys. Thank all of you for being here and supporting Timmy. Means a lot.
So I think next week, where do you want? I mean, we've gotten up to through Timmy's childhood, through his teen years, and up until his passing. So next chapter of the book, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm all over the place right now.
I think we maybe need to go in depth of what exactly happened on your side. You know, going through having to find somebody that had cadaver dogs, all of the searches that you had to do before police decided to start helping you, 6 weeks after Timmy went missing?
Yeah, I think next week, I guess we'll talk about the very beginning and how from the time Arctic talked to me from the time Timmy was found.
And Arctic, just one question. How did you find Barb?
I admin for several missing persons groups on Facebook, and she had made a post about Timmy and how she wasn't getting any help from anywhere else. And I guess her number had to have been in the post or on one of the flyers or something. And I reached out to her and said, "Hey, you know what? I've got a channel. It's a small, because at that time I only had like 1,500, 2,000 subs, something like that. I was like, it's small, but I'd like to help you get Timmy's story out there."
Did you ever think that it would turn out like, that all of this stuff would come around to you being, on the board of Timmy's legacy?
Oh, no, no. I mean, at that time, like I said, I mean, I was pretty, I mean, and I still am. I mean, I'm still a small channel considering how big some of the other ones are. And I never dreamed that I'd end up on the board of directors of a nonprofit that's going to be making a real difference in the lives of so many families.
Well,
I have to say, I'm so grateful to you, Arctic, for coming across. I think it was, I don't
it
know
was a
if you're a
God thing.
religious person or not, but you were a godsend, because this all happened because you took an interest in a case that nobody else wanted to look at.
Well, what happened was, like I said, I hadn't had Facebook or anything. I had Facebook before, a year prior, and I got rid of it. I wasn't on any social media. So my girlfriend Gina, when Tim spent that 3 years in jail, prison, I spent all of my time with my friend Gina. Gina Ritter is her name. She's wonderful. She's been very good to me and my kids. We spent all of our time together. I mean, all of our time. And doing homework with Timmy was, like I said, a nightmare. And like I said, I've only graduated 8th grade, and couldn't read. So she would come over, or I would go over to her house, and she would help me with. Michael was very smart. Michael was so just overly smart sometimes. So he didn't need help with that, but she would help me with the kids would sit at the table and she would do homework with them.
And I want to take a moment just to acknowledge some people that have really helped to get Timmy's story out. Obviously, the Lawless Files, but so many of the creators that I've had the privilege to work with, like Mind of Monsters and Kit and Dago and Southern Gal, True Crime, Cryptex. I mean, so many of them out there that have really helped because I'm only one person. Had these other friends of mine not picked the story up, it wouldn't have gone as viral as it did. And I just want to make sure that everyone gets the
Yeah.
acknowledgement that they deserve, especially Mr. Steve with True Crime Web for everything that he has done because he's been instrumental in putting all the pieces together.
Right.
Well, True Crime Web, that freaked me out. I mean, and the help that I have received through the YouTube has been amazing because even the Highway Patrol told me to stay away from you guys. And I'm like, I'm not going to stay away from anybody that won't, help. I'm not going away. I mean, my son has passed, and Arctic, remember in the beginning, you would try to console me, and you asked me, do I think Timmy wasn't alive? I knew he wasn't alive. I knew. I told you, remember?
I remember very distinctly,
You
and
tried to
it's
hold me up and give me hope, but I knew.
and that's the thing. A mother knows, a parent knows if their child's no longer with us. There's just something. I mean, that there's a connection there that's not there any longer. They can feel that their child's no longer here, and it's one of those things where I always try to get parents to not give up hope just on the off chance that, hey, they are out there somewhere. But at the same time, you've got to also say, well, given the circumstances,
Well, yeah, and there is, and doing the missing, there is families that have found their loved ones alive, which is awesome. When I see that people are found safe and alive, it just brightens my heart, So,
oh, absolutely. And especially when I see these people being found after 40 or 50 years,
Right.
that just brings a big old bright smile to my face. And then this morning was great because there was an autistic child missing out of Arizona. And we've had so many losses of autistic children over the past 2 weeks. So when he was found safe, I was on top of the world.
do that happy dance,
Right.
don't you?
Yep.
But
Man,
when you
especially after all the little autistic children that we've lost lately. Oh my gosh.
oh yeah,
What
I
a
know.
relief. What
But
a
I mean,
relief.
when it came to Timmy, I knew, and the main reason why I knew is because Timmy would have not talked to me. That just wasn't that I knew. Timmy wouldn't have went all that time not talking to me. Timmy and I've never went that long without talking. Never. And then I got even another audio recording of Caleb talking about how Timmy found this ID and he's on the run, and it's an ID of a woman. But then I've got another recording of Caleb in jail talking to his sister, talking about this ID, which is very interesting to me, talking about it being in his van and everything. But if you listen to the story that Caleb tells the Highway Patrol, he said Timmy kicked the box and there was an ID there, and Timmy decided to take on somebody's identity, and he's fleeing because he's going to prison. That's all lies.
And what a stupid thing
But
to
if
say.
the police would have listened to the recordings of Caleb in jail talking to his sister, and then what Caleb had said to them about this ID that was found, that was a woman's ID, that Timmy's going to take on this woman's identity and leave state, is so ridiculous that, as I'm not even a detective and I can listen to it and go, no, this ain't right. I think this kid needs to be questioned more. But after he didn't show up for when they went to pick him up for the second time that he said he would do a lie detector test, and he was not there. They've never questioned Caleb since. They just gone. They have not talked to him. Now I hear he's in California. So it sounds like to me he's fleeing.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, they'll drag him back.
If they do their jobs, that's the problem. I'm just praying that this prosecutor that they have there now, because he got voted in when Timmy was still missing, and I walked in the parade and I was behind him with my signs. He got voted in, and he could be a hero to a lot of families there, because
Absolutely he could.
And I'm praying that's what he's going to do. That's what I'm praying for, but I don't know.
I think that's a good leaving off point for tonight.
Yes. And I do have a video that I'd like to play after
Okay.
we're done here.
And then just real quick, next week we hope to have another guest. Dago, I've been sitting here watching you in the comments. I think maybe next week, if you have the time on Wednesday, you would be a great guest for the next portion of our show if you have the time.
Yes, that would be great.
Hit me on Barb up and let us know if you'd be willing.
Thank you, everybody. But I do have this video, and it's a video that Kit True Crime made for me, and it's got both Michael and Timmy's picture on it. It's beautiful. I have a hard time watching it because it is that beautiful. Makes me cry every time, but it's a beautiful video that she made for me to play at the end. So, I mean, I have you guys, I can't thank you enough for the support I've gotten from you guys. I mean, one of the things that kind of bothered me too was when they put up, I know Mina Monsters, she helps people get billboards put up. Well, when Timmy's dad got a billboard put up, but when Timmy's dad made the billboard, he put my phone number on it. It wasn't the police department or the highway patrol or anything. It's got my home phone number on that bulletin board.
Well, to be honest, Barb, given how they didn't take the case seriously or anything, it may have been for the best that it was your number and not law enforcement.
It ended up being the best, but that's not what it's for.
Very true. I mean, it was a stupid move on Tim's part. Like, we would, guess anything different. But, it was a blessing in disguise.
It really was.
And also, before we go, I was wondering if somebody could go and grab the Discord link, Timmy's Legacy Discord link, and put it into chat. Anybody who would like to join. All of the documents as of right now from Detective Monroe and Fred, the Missouri Highway Patrol, are in that Discord if anybody would like to go and read through the actual documents. So if somebody can drop that link into chat for us, they can go and look at all the documents for themselves.
There's a lot of interesting stuff in there that just blows you away. I don't know. I believed in people like Mr. Steve from True Crime Web. I thought all detectives do what's right. I never dreamed that you find a person
Thank you, Arctic.
You don't do your job. You don't look and you don't question these people, and you don't. I don't care what Timmy was doing there. I don't care why he was there, anything. It still has, nobody has the right to take somebody else's life.
Right.
And for Caleb to say that Timmy was crying and begging him to come up here to St. Louis to pick him up, that's a bunch of bull. Timmy wasn't very far from my house. If Timmy was in that place, Timmy knew he could call me. He stayed with me the whole week before. I would have been happy to go over and pick him up. So I don't believe that story for a minute. I don't know why Caleb and them are even putting that out there, that he was crying, begging them for him to come and get him. That's bullcrap.
I don't believe a single word that comes out of Caleb's mouth. If his lips are moving, he's lying.
Right. And then I got another video, and it's Caleb talking to Winter and talking about how they're going to throw it on this guy named Zach that came up here. It was Winter, Caleb's sister, Caleb, this guy named Zach, and another girl that came up here to St. Louis, picked Timmy up and took him down there. And then because he was crying, and then apparently this Zach guy must have left. And
I'll tell you where that came in, Barb, because I just read through all the documents again.
Well, I know where Zach.
I know where
Zach came in. I know where he came in because he came up here to St. Louis with Caleb and Winter and another girl to pick Timmy up.
No, so but I found out where the accusation came from.
Well, yeah, but I got a video of Caleb's sister, Winter, telling Caleb she's going to throw it on Zach. Mm-hmm. Caleb goes just like this in the video. You can't do that. He wasn't even there. She goes, I don't care. I'm throwing him under the bus anyway. And then later, when Caleb gets out of jail and never offers to help me look for Timmy, even though he said he was the whole time he was in jail, not one time did he offer to help look for Timmy. He decides he's going to start trying to throw it on Zach. He goes to the police and he tries to tell the police that maybe Zach did it. So he was going to take his sister's word and they're going to try to throw it on this Zach guy when they already were talking about it while he was in jail. It's on recording that they're going to throw that guy under the bus.
Right.
It's nuts. It's nuts. Anyway, I love all of you guys. And I can't express how much you guys mean to me and the support that you've given me.
Yes, thank you all so much.
Amazing.
And once we get Barb through the entire story, we'll open up chat more often and take questions. It's just to try to keep on track that we're not watching chat all the time at the moment, but it's not always going to be like that. I promise.
No.
It's just once we start rolling.
Shoot, I didn't know how to use a computer when this started. I got this far. So
just hang in there with us, guys. We will be opening up and going through chats more often. We just need to get through everything at least once first. So,
and then after that, then I would really, I do know families that have talked to me already, and they know that this podcast has started, and they would like to get on panel and tell their stories about their loved ones. And I'd be more than happy to help them.
Oh, absolutely. And I'd be more than happy to come on and talk to these families anytime you want me to come on panel with you. So
thank you. I have met some families that are just going through hell themselves. I mean, they call me and they say, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I do that? And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to start this channel too, because some of these mothers and fathers don't have a place to go. They don't have a platform to tell anything. And if it wasn't for you, Arctic, I wouldn't have known nothing about it. So that was why.
Arctic,
wait a minute. These families need you guys. Because that's what the police will tell you. The police tell you to stay away from social media. Don't. And when I went to the debate for the new sheriff. They had the debate. So I went to the debate, and one of the guys that was running for sheriff down there, which you guys will know, Window Blue, you probably know who I'm talking about. Arctic. He's the one that said that storage unit got checked out while he was running for sheriff. And he got up there and starts talking about how great Katie is, the sheriff, and how he was telling all the people there that all of us need to quit watching Facebook and listening to anything that's on Facebook and social media, because it's nothing but a bunch of lies.
Right. And I have that recording.
Yeah. It's unreal.
I'm going to go ahead and hop down, guys, so Barb can play her thing. But thank you again so much for everybody being here. And I believe Dago said he was going to go live after. So I will see you all there.
Okay, see you there. Love you. Thank you.
Love you too. Night.
Love you, Mount Hurry.
But yep, Arctic, that's the now when I want to play this video, Arctic, I just play it after we get off, or
it should give you the option. If you've already got it saved in your StreamYard, you can either press the button where you've got it saved, or if it's like a YouTube video or something like that, you can share screen and share it that way.
Okay. Well, thank you, Arctic, very much for being here. I really
thank you for having me, Miss Barb.
I love you guys all. It's been amazing.
Very honored to be here. You have a fantastic night, and I will try to be over there at Dago's, and I'll see you over there.
Okay. Good night.
Night.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Be two hearts running wild. The morning is the afternoon. stay young forever. We'll never have regret.